morning we're going to take a look at the follow-up for my customer Atlantic Motorcars 3-piece Mercedes Sprinter van shaft. I got tied up yesterday afternoon when I was working on this, and I didn't get a chance to just trying to get this compiled into a wrap-up. So we'll try and go down it real quick. Basically the ask was balance this so that they knew it had good drivability to put back in the van for their customer. And so we'll go down and just look at what I've done and what I found. So we'll crank it up here. That's approaching 2,000 RPM right there. Keep going up. That's about 25, 2,600 RPM right there. That's about 27 right there. So 0 at the transmission, dead flat 0. 0 at the first center bearing. It's a fuzzy 0 at the second center bearing, and it's 0 at the rear axle. So the second center bearing is where all of the action was, and it was probably a 7 or an 8. And I'm not talking about the number 7 or 8 or the number 0. It's just that the dial indicator is not wagging back and forth. And this is a pendulum style machine. There's no smoke and mirrors here. I mean, this is when you got the dial indicators to level out and be 0, that's when you got it, the balance factor is the best. So, and obviously there's nothing to stop it from doing that. You know, if it's out of balance, these things will flail back and forth. I've had situations where I couldn't run, you know, looking at drive shafts, I couldn't run them 300 RPM because they're going to tear themselves off the balancer stands. So this is the reason why I run this machine, because it's very sensitive to small, minute imbalance, and it's very reliable to correct them. Speaking of that, this 3-piece shaft itself was very, very particular. If you adjusted the weight package here, it affected it all the way down there. And some of them are like that. This one was. They vary, you know, like anything does. This, I would say, I'd categorize this as like classic couple and balance for that reason, because you touch it there and it's got like a whiplash effect all the way down, and that's the way this was. So what that does is when you got one section of it corrected, you have to go back down and keep tuning and keep going over it back and forth until you get it to where it is now, basically. So I will say that these bearings do emit more of an audible sound than I expected them to. I mean, most of the bearings, when I run a tuned up drive shaft in this balance machine, is just like a whoosh. I mean, I'm not going to put too sharp a point on it, but the reason why I do these videos the way I do them is so people are aware. And so I'm just going to put this down here, and that's that bearing. And that's that bearing. So we're just going to go with that. I'm sure this will be a good drivable result for their customer, and we'll get this back to Motorcar. I did touch up the paint on where I attached the weights before I left yesterday. So we're going to say that this is a win for Motorcar. And I also am going to say that this thing is 3 pieces. It's at 11 feet long. It's 132 inches long. So it is not a small piece. The balancer, I can do 15 feet in this thing. So it's not like it's overreach or anything like that. It's just that, once again, making people aware of what you're dealing with, because you don't ordinarily see these things spinning in space when they're not attached to a vehicle. It is unusual. So yeah, we're gonna get this back to Motorcar as soon as possible.